One of the things that impressed me the most, that helped me in my journey of doing YouTube on a consistent basis, is reviewing life in the context of 10 years. I'm 73 years old, double amputee, and all of that. So you know the end result. But you also have to go back. For me, I have to go back to my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, my 60s, and now my 70s. So I'm going back to my 30s to review what life was like for me and my adventures and the things that were important to me then. And one of the things that I see consistently throughout my 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s was the challenge to stand up again after you have fallen several times. So I have brought that same mindset and apply the same mindset into my 70s, where I am right now. I just started this YouTube channel on the 5th of January 2026. So I'm already into my 73 years old. And with all the things that has come and go, the challenges, the opportunities to grow, the opportunities to reinforce a positive mindset after being slept down or fallen into the ground and then get up again. I remember the time I went to see the doctor from outside of town, from St. George. She is a heart specialist. After I went through my open heart surgery, and 4 months later, I did not feel any boost of energy. So I went back to my cardiologist, and he said, well, there's a 10% of people who do heart surgery who do not get that extra jolt of energy. And then he sent me to meet this heart specialist from a city called Cedar City here in southern Utah. And she came down and we had a pleasant conversation, but I was more inquisitive regarding what my options are, because I know I had a heart surgery and there's a big gap on my chest that says that I went through that. But I did not feel any better at all after 4 months. So then the doctor was very realistic about it, and she said to me, based on what we see on your whatever the measurement are, your heart, the artery of your heart that were worked upon by a stent before the open heart surgery. There were 4 stents put in my heart that didn't work. And they did the open heart surgery that didn't work. And she said, the arteries are not connected. So I said to her, what are my chances to be alive? And she said, well, we can only give you a diagnosis of your condition. And she said, your diagnosis right now, as of today, your diagnosis is you are a congestive heart failure. It took me a little bit to just hear the words and understood what that meant. So I asked her, I said, what are my chances? And she said, well, we can treat you with medication and hope that somehow the arteries will reconnect again. At that time, there was a measurement where my heart's ability to squeeze blood inside was down to 32. The normal rate is 60 plus. And I was down at 32, and I was barely moving, barely alive. So we went through the medication treatment, and a couple of months later, almost 9 months later, I keep going back, and they said, just keep doing what you're doing, keep doing what you're doing. So I have to come home on my way home and have to build my own confidence and my own faith in what I know I can do as long as I'm alive, as long as my heart is beating, although slower. As long as it's beating, I can change my mindset. I can turn what could be fear and disappointments into something that will allow my heart to beat normal. So 9 months later, I went back after a couple of blood tests and different tests that they put me under. I went back to see the assistant from this lady that I saw from Cedar City, and he looked at my chart, and he said to me, these were his words, "Well, we don't have to see you anymore." So I said, "Say what?" He said, "We don't have to see you anymore." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because your heart is normal." It went from 32 to 42, the rate in which the heart was pumping blood. And they said, that is the best that we can start with, but you're on your way back to normal. So even in the hardest of circumstances that we encounter in life, there's always a brighter side to look at. And for some times, I have been thinking a lot about YouTube with people who are, I don't know where you are, I don't know what your story is. Sometimes I've heard stories of people who started and quit. Sometimes I heard people who started big time and then they fizzle out, and that's what makes the stories of successful people on YouTube more successful, because they're now telling the stories of people who are failures. For me, it's not so much a story of failure, it's a story of encouragement, giving courage where it's necessary. And you may be one of those people who are watching this video and you're saying to yourself, what's the use? I have done this before. They told me that it was going to be another flop. Don't give up hope. Imagine if I was doing that. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. But I have had a lot of challenges, physical challenges. But the most toughest part of my life is in my mind. I can control what goes on in my mind. I walked out of the hospital after I saw the last time the doctor said, I don't need to see you. And I walked out of that and I said, God, thank you for giving me the opportunity to see the difference between having a positive mindset and a negative one. Because I can't tell you how many people I have talked to who told me, oh, my dad went to have a stent and 2 years later he's gone. I've heard that story many times. And I could have taken in that part of the story to comfort me in my own circumstance, but I did not. I refused to do that. And so in the same manner that I started with when I started YouTube, I have had so many people that it seems like my YouTube TV is filled with people, and everybody's saying their nice part, and then they also warn against the bad part. And so instead of that, I thought, I have been a coach for many leaders around the world, because that's part of my portfolio in what I used to do in work. But coaching these young people is something that was precious to me, but it also represents a way of life that I have decided to take it on, even without any health challenges. By the way, for my health challenges, I've had gout in my 50s and 60s, and I was able to have medication to control it. I was able to change my diet to change it, to help it. But I have never had any major health challenges. As a matter of fact, I walked in Las Vegas. I used to walk from the office to my place for 2 hours, straight walking, boom, boom, boom. And when we went back to the Samoan Islands, I walked everywhere I went because it is such a tremendous hobby to do. And I was always fit. I remember being blessed with a good health. And then towards my late 60s, I began to think, man, my best years are ahead, because I had a certain equation, a certain way of calculating numbers. And I thought, I've done all the walking, I've done all the good eating, I even went to farming to make sure that I have enough health products to take care of my body. I was the largest turmeric grower in the islands, and the soursop plant, I had moringa, I had all these different health remnants from the natural standpoint. And so I thought, I poured enough into my body that will help me in my 70s to really enjoy it further on. And then, of course, when I hit 70s, all of a sudden everything happens. The last 4 years has been the most challenging health time for me. But it also reminded me that if you and I have put time and effort and all of the energy into making sure that our health is good, you may be limited in one of the things that you can do, and yet having a mindset. I was just talking to a gentleman today. He's a longtime friend from way back in the good old days. And I saw him on Messenger when I called him. And he said, do you believe it? I am 97 years old. I couldn't believe it. He's 97 years old. He's only 3 years away from 100. But I said to him, what was the secret? He said, it's the mind. It's the ability to let go of all of your shit, and all of all of the inputs and the things. And he said, if somebody come to me and said, you did this, you did this, you did this, and he said, I'll tell him, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right. What do you want me to do for it? And so it's a good, healthy attitude that we can have. YouTube can be a blessing. Now, let me just tell you from a standpoint of being a coach. I believe as long as you and I have a heartbeat, regardless of our physical condition, we can tell our story, because your story is the most important story you've ever had. There is no other greater story than your story. And the problem is we have been loaded down by all the pressures of negative things that talk to us and hold us down. And so I want to come again to you and say to you, be encouraged. It's as long as you have a heartbeat, you have a chance to tell your story as it is. YouTube is very simple to do. You just go to youtube.com and register your name, register your handle, and you got the YouTube channel. And then if you have a phone like I do, you can just turn on to the camera and talk about your story. Don't talk about your story using somebody else's way of telling the story. It's your story. And once that becomes a pattern that you can think of, that you don't have to worry about being somebody else or anybody else. You can be you, and YouTube love for you to do that. And then upload the videos and listen, since January 5th, 2026, this year, this is March 18. I have uploaded 120 videos, all of me talking like this. But I talk like this, but there's something different that is happening. I'm finding a new way of speaking and having impact, of just telling my story the way it is. And if people come and like it, fantastic. If people come and say, I don't like that, that's good too. Because my story is not for everyone. My story is for people who are looking for what I can bring to the table. And that's the same for you. Your own story has an incredible marketplace of people who are looking for solutions that you have overcome already. So I want to encourage you, if you are on the sideline just wondering if you need to do this, jump in. Jump in. And I'm going to be available to just make sure that you're okay, make sure that you're encouraged. I'm going to talk as if I'm talking to you, because I needed someone to talk to me like this, and I found the person that can talk like me is me. So having to record, videotape, upload to YouTube, then I go back and listen to myself. And I'm saying, man, that's a cool guy. That's a cool guy. That's a cool guy. And so that's how I feel. And that's what I believe and stand for, why I am doing YouTube. I am doing 3 to 4 videos every day, and that's my commitment. The least I can produce every day is 2 videos. And I've done it already for a month and a half, 2 months. It's going to the end of March, beginning of April will be the 3rd, and 90 days. So let me just be the person who can encourage you. Be encouraged and step into the ring. Be the man who can go into the middle of the ring and fight. This is Jose Leao. I need your help. For the month of March, I am targeting to have 300 subscribers to my YouTube channel. YouTube has sent me the data that says 21% of the people who see my videos like it and subscribe. That means 79% of the people who watch my videos may enjoy it, may not, but never bother to subscribe. Would you please subscribe, like, and share this video with others? And I promise you, I will be around and be here to encourage you along the way. Thank you. Bye-bye for now.